3, 2, 1. Hey friends, Janky here, and welcome back to the lab. Today I am showing you guys Starfighter Origins, developed by Mad About Games, published by MAG Studios. Starfighter Origins is a 90s style space combat simulator inspired by games such as Wing Commander, Free Space, and Star Wars, combining a focus on single-player action and favoring full-space combat simulation over dogfighting. Starfighter Origins looks and plays great using a gamepad, and Steam cuts off the rest of the description. So, there's that. But before we get started with the game today, I just want to talk quickly about experimental biases, because those are very important to take note of. Yes, always. So, my experimental biases for this game. I got this game free through Indie Boost, which is a system that shows indie games to reviewers and game writer people. I'm very happy that I'm very happy to sign up for their list. It was quite nice. It was nice. Anyway, I got this game for free. Also, I only made it through the tutorial levels. You'll see why here in the review, but I only made it through the tutorial levels, so keep note of that too. Anyway, I'm going to fade out, and I hope you guys enjoy this review. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really didn't have a lot of fun playing this game. I think that it plays a lot more like an alpha to a game than it does a finished product. That being said, the developers were kind enough to send me a key, so I want to at least try to be constructive with my review here for you guys today. So let's start by talking about a couple of the problems that I had with this game. First of all, the controls. So I had two big issues with the controls. This game is controller compatible and keyboard compatible. But the first time I tried the game, only half the controls worked on the controller. After I reset, more of them worked, although a few of them were still buggy, particularly the match speed feature, which I'll talk about a little later. But it wasn't working immediately. I actually had a similar problem with the keyboard. See, the controls on the keyboard, the controls that they give you are actually very spread out across the keyboard. So I didn't really care for the way they have them set up, but they offer you a key rebinding system, so I rebound the keys. But the first time I did it, every key just paused what was happening on the screen. It didn't actually rebind properly. Now, the second time I tried it, it did work, so there is that. They did end up working, but it was kind of wonky to deal with at first. Now, the one thing that I want to tell you guys about while I still have this ship pulled up is also the UI they have going on for gamers here. So there are a few different key elements. You have up on the top there your fuel and your speed. Then you have off to your left there a mission screen. Then off to the right a targeting screen. In the middle you have a scanning screen. And then right below that you have a little radar that shows you where your targets are. Then off to the bottom right, or the bottom left there's a health bar for your ship. It's a lot to take in, admittedly. And there are a couple things like some numbers off to the side and stuff that I don't know what they mean. I think they're actually kind of superfluous to what was happening. So I don't know. But all of that's explained very well in the tutorial. But you'll see in later ships, all of that gets changed around, which is a minor thing, but it still kind of sucks when you're trying to figure things out and they kind of change things on you. So it would be much easier to just explain what each screen was, and then, you know, if you want to change it, that's fine. But in the tutorial, it explained where and what everything was. And so when everything's changed, it kind of confused me a little. Right, so this was one of the other issues I had. This was that feature I was talking about, that match speed feature. I did get it to work on keyboard, but the thing was, if you turn on match speed, it literally sends your ship to 0. Like, you're supposed to be able to match the speed of that target ship there. It was not doing that. It was not matching that speed. It was just sending my ship straight to 0. So I don't know what that was. That was just kind of a bug that was in the game. But that's one of the problems that I had with it. Other things that I want to tell you guys about, the speed is fine. It keeps track of what your speed is. To be honest, and this is getting back to the UI, I feel like some of that information is kind of superfluous. Like, the fuel is important because you need to know how much fuel you have, but the speed, I mean, whenever you're moving through these asteroid fields, like, it's really hard to get a concept of speed, so whether you're going fast or slow, it doesn't really seem to matter that much. The other thing I kind of wish this game had was you'll see what I'm seeing through my windshield, and then you'll see what I'm seeing on that target screen down below. So the point of the target screen is to actually help you aim at targets and destroy them, because you can see them much easier on that screen. The thing is, while there is, you know, a very nice view out of the windscreen, I would much rather just have the targeting view out of my windscreen. Because if the focus of this game is to seek out targets and destroy them, I would much rather have a view that allows me to do that rather than have an admittedly nice view, but then have to focus on that tiny little screen in order to actually find the targets that I want. Now, the radar, which is right below that, is nice because it lets you see targets not only in the 2D plane but also in the 3D plane, because there are lines that show if it's below you or above you. So that was a really nice feature, and I liked that. I really liked having that radar there. But the other thing you'll see is that this is a different ship, so they changed the UI. The speed is, I don't know where. The fuel, I think, is at the top of the scanning screen. They changed the objectives to the top of the ship, which is fine, and the target's still off to the one side. But they just kind of like changed up where everything was. So I was kind of sitting there just like, okay, I think I still understand how this operates, but you know, why change it around? Just to show that you're in a different ship, or what was the ultimate goal? I assume it was because you're in a different style of ship, but I don't think you really need to change the UI around. I don't know how exactly else you could do it. Maybe just change like the cosmetic frame around the UI, but preferably don't change up the UI whenever you want to show a different kind of ship, right? Now, as for the mechanics of actually playing the game, like I said, there were some issues there with the match speed. The laser seems to work fine to me. I think it actually works really well. There's just the one basic kind of fire. That's another thing. Since this game is focused on targeting, I think it'd be more interesting to have a couple different kinds of fire that you could use. Maybe an upgrade system with guns or something like that. I think that could make the game more interesting. But, like I said, the guns as they are work perfectly fine. I find, though, in active battle, they can be a little slow. Because there are these tiny little drones or ships that you're trying to hit. And you're trying to follow them, but they're moving much faster than you. And you can lock onto them. That's an option. You can lock onto them and target them. But they move so much faster, and you're trying to aim at them with this little screen. And it's just, it's difficult to get a good bearing on those tiny little ships. And whenever you fire at them, it's like once you fire at the spot where they are, they've already moved on to the next spot. So you try to fire like ahead where you think they might be, but you kind of lose track of them on that little screen if you move too far ahead. That's another argument I have for just making your vision what's on that screen down there. And I think that would make the whole game much easier, because I ended up having to get really close to these ships before I could actually hit them, because they were just moving so much faster than I was. Which also led to me doing, later, you'll see a whole bunch of barrel rolls and getting all turned around, and that was kind of hard to deal with, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Mostly, it's just that, like I said at the beginning of this review, this game just feels like it plays more like an alpha to a game than it does a finished product. It feels like the developers had a lot of really good ideas and they wanted to implement them, but I don't feel like this game is entirely as fleshed out as it could be. Just like from the suggestions I'm making, or just, I don't know, it just feels incomplete in its current state. It doesn't feel like there's a lot going on. It doesn't feel like there's a lot to look at. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of action happening in the game. It doesn't feel very varied. I feel like there could be a lot more going on here than what is currently going on here. Another thing that I wanted to point out too, and I don't think I cut any of this footage in, which is a shame, I should have, Oh, see, we have a new ship again. And in this new ship, we have the objective screen, but we don't have a target screen. The speed, I think, is still in that little bar on top of the scan screen, and so is the fuel. And yeah, the health bar, I think, is that bar off to the left side of the screen there. I think that's the health bar for this ship. So again, it just kind of changes everything up. And yeah, it changes the look of the ship, and I understand that I'm in a different ship now. But changing up the UI like that is kind of a little bit jarring for the person trying to play. Actually, this here is a perfect example of speed. So I am pressing forward, and I am picking up a ridiculous amount of speed. And like the speed number, it really has no bearing in my opinion. Like going 15,000 or going 34,000, it kind of feels like you're going the same. Eventually, once you get further into the asteroid field here, or if you're around other ships, you kind of get a sense of what speed you're actually going. But just in general, I never really got a sense that pushing all the way on the thrusters really gave me that much more speed. I did notice a feature called Afterburn, which allowed you to pick up a little more speed, and that was a bit more noticeable. That was something that I used here to navigate the asteroid fields. It does burn up fuel, but you kind of at least get a sense of a different speed happening. I don't know. It's just because, like I said, and like I've been saying, this game it just plays like an alpha. It just doesn't feel fleshed out. I feel like it's a start, but it should be a jumping point and not an ending point. And I think it's a shame because I think that this game has good ideas and it could be something, but right now it just doesn't feel like anything. Okay, so this is the last thing that I wanted to show you guys. This is like an actual battle situation in the game. So everything I showed you up to this point, it's like tutorials to tell you how to navigate in this space, whereas this one focuses on what it's actually like to be in a battle. So you see the friendly targets in green and the enemy targets in red, and this is a little more interesting. It's a little more active. There's more going on, but I still think it has the issue of it's very confusing to try to look at. So you can't really see the other ships out the windscreen. You have to look at the scanner. You don't really get a good aim on the ships until you're closer to them. They're much faster than you, so you get all turned around. You also get the introduction of these messages coming from the other ships, which I don't really find particularly helpful because I'm not sure like which ship is trying to talk to me, so I'm not sure where I should be looking. If I should be looking, I'm not sure. And it's hard. And yeah, I get that that's like fire from the enemies, and I understand, you know, that blocking your viewpoint for a while. It's a challenge, I get it. But like this, like I'm targeted onto a ship right now trying to see what's going on, and I just get it's very disorienting to move in that 3D space. It's difficult. So it's hard to even say what's going on. And the worst thing is, for all of these battles, I got probably the buggiest bug in the game, which is I did this battle 3 times. All 3 times, this game had a fatal error. All 3 times, this game crashed. And I had to, it closed out, I had to reopen it, there it goes. The fatal crash. So it's just, it's an issue. And that's definitely a thing to be fixed. Like, fatal errors, like, if nothing else, those fatal errors have to get fixed. So, I think that's all I have to say. Let's pull out Janky's experimental scale. As you guys remember, there are 5 possible rankings: smashing success, promising results, more trials needed, revisions required, and acid kid. Now, as I've said before, I try to be as forgiving as possible with these games, but the thing is, like I said, this game fatal crashed on me 3 times in this battle, and it actually fatal crashed on me another time. It has a lot of bugs, and again, I think it could be something, but it needs to go back to the drawing board. So for that, I'm afraid that I'm going to rank it as Acid Kid. If you guys disagree, of course, feel free to leave that in the comments down below. But other than that, I'm going to consider this experiment concluded. So, I hope you guys enjoyed yet another episode of Janky's Lab. If you did, you can totally leave those likes down below, comments, positive or negative. As I said, feel free to leave those below as well. But more than anything, I hope you have a lovely day, evening, or whenever you happen to be watching. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, this is Janky Shenanigans, signing out.
All fighters, take out that cruiser. Kill. All fighters, engage priority targets. Roger that. One breaking off. I'm on it.